is Francis. I'm going to be focusing this little 15-minute yoga lesson on different variations and modifications that you can use when you're doing a yoga class at home, or if you're doing a yoga class at school or in a studio and you're like, oh, my right foot hurts today, or my ankle's not feeling it, or you're like looking around and you're like, I have no idea what those people are doing. So we're gonna start. So first and foremost, a lot of people have Tadasana. You will see some classes where it's just feet together, big toes touching, heels slightly apart. That's a very common cue. Hands down by your side, palms face forward, kneecaps rising up, shoulders back and away, finding your Tadasana. Now, this is a very simple pose, I know for a lot of you. For some people, if your hips hate this, heel till your feet out, hip distance, it's not a thing. Do what feels good in your body. There's always a modification that you can do. So, hips wide. So, next, I'm just gonna go through the sun salutation to begin with, because we do that in a lot of classes. Arms up, palms up, touching, looking up. Once more, if your shoulders do not like this, hands apart. And if your hands are apart, just try to wrap your pinkies in so your pinkies are almost like waving at each other. Exhale, forward fold. So this is a forward fold. A lot of people like to focus on their hamstrings and keep their legs super straight, which one day you might, or maybe you can do now. The forward fold is actually, the focus in the pose is to loosen up the low back. So, if you're here and you're like, oh, my back's not feeling it, bend your knees a little or a lot. Making a stomach-thigh connection is more important than straight legs here. Inhale, half left. So you want a flat back with the crown of the head facing forward. Exhale, forward fold. Step back, high to low plank or Chaturanga. Naturally high plank, you can always drop the knees. And you can lower all the way down, knees, chest, and chin down to the mat. So next is Cobra Hot Dog. Up dog consists of having your legs flexed, thighs and kneecaps off of the mat. Cobra, it's sort of like up dog, but your thighs and knees are down. But you can also just have it low, baby cobra, low cobra, where you're just using your back muscles to lift your chest up off of the mat. And exhale, you have down dog. Now this is a staple in most yoga classes. If you are not feeling this, you can bend your knees a little or a lot. Or you can take tabletop, just making sure you're stretching your head forward, your tailbone back, lengthening that spine. You can also keep your tabletop active. So while your knees are stacked under your hips, your shoulders are stacked on top of your wrists, index fingers are forward, pretending you're the mat. Try seeing, even if you're not moving your hands, see if you can squeeze them together so you can activate your pecs. Same with your thighs, see if you can squeeze them together. If you have a block or a small pillow or something, you can even put it between your legs, squeezing them together, activating your core, making it an active resting pose. Just because it's a modification doesn't mean it has to be easy. Likewise, if getting onto the floor is a trouble spot for you, you can always take half dog. So downward facing dog is making a capital A shape. If you have a wall, you can always place your hand on the wall and just fold forward, pressing into the wall, pressing your booty back, making a capital L shape with your body. Lengthening the spine. That's really all we're doing. So next, we're going to show the modifications for other poses that we do in a lot of yoga classes that you might just need a little touch up on. Not everyone's taking yoga trainings, so I totally get it. So in the warrior series is a common thing that we do in classes. So commonly we step we go from down dog and we step our foot forward to the top of our mat. If your foot's not getting as far forward as you like, you can always grab it with your hand and move your foot forward. Or you can always leave your foot exactly where it lands, and that's where your warrior one is for the day. That's sort of what we mean when yoga teachers say, find your practice on the mat. Some days you might step the entire mat. Some days this might be where you step and your body is telling you that's where to go. Next, for the actual pose of warrior, your back foot is at a 45-degree angle. Your front foot is pointed straight forward toward the front of the mat. The proper cueing is heel, lines up with heel, but if your heel to heel is uncomfortable for you, you can always widen your stance and have it hip distance. We are so mean to our hips. You can be kind to your hips in yoga class of all places. So hip distance apart is a very nice modification for Warrior One. Now, I tend to put my hands together in Warrior One. That's just the style of yoga I was taught. Some styles are hands outright. Not a problem. Same thing. Likewise, same for Crescent Lunge. It's just like Warrior One, except you're on your tiptoes, the ball of your back foot. So if you want to keep it really active, you straighten that leg and you activate both legs as best you can. If that's a lot for your back leg, bend your back leg a little. It takes off some of the tension. Next pose to show you guys, Warrior Two. Ideally, the front foot is face forward, the back foot is parallel with the back of the mat. It's a pretty wide stance. Ideally, the front thigh is parallel with the floor beneath it. Hands are out. And you're stepping into the blade side of the back foot, stepping into the front foot, bending that knee as much as you can without having it go over past the ankle. Now, if this is a lot on you, this one's simple. Shorten the stance. I said it's ideal that the front leg is parallel with the floor beneath it. That means it doesn't have to be. Maybe today, this is your Warrior Two. There's nothing wrong with it. You're practicing, and here's a secret. The point of yoga isn't the physical poses. Physical poses are literally like an eighth or less of yoga. The point of the movement in yoga is that you can quiet your mind. So if you're moving, you're feeling it, you're finding your zen, you're doing yoga. There's nothing wrong with your poses. So next, I'm going to show you Chikanasana, or triangle pose. In triangle pose, your legs are just like in Warrior Two, but a little shorter. So from there, ideally, you inhale, shift forward, exhale, your fingers are aiming for that spot right between your big toe and index toe, and you're actually trying not to touch it, if you can touch the ground, but you just want to use it as a guide. It's a lot of core work. If that's a lot for you, if you have a yoga block, you have a book, you have a hydro flask or a water bottle, always use a prop. All it does is bring the ground closer to you. Nothing wrong with that. From there, you can easily just turn your legs and do it on the other side. So the block is a great prop. All it does is it helps bring the floor closer to you, making poses more accessible. Now, the thing about being accessible is alignment is more important than alignment and the intention of the pose is more important than going deeper into the pose. I'm going to show you on the next pose we're gonna highlight extended side angle. So extended side angle, warrior 2 feet still. From here, your hand is reaching for the floor, back front foot, front knee, and front arm are pressing into each other, and your arm is going up and away. Now the next version of this, wrap the arm behind your back, and the next version is grabbing, interlacing your fingers behind your back with your leg in the loop. Now, a lot of people like going for this, but instead of reaching up and away, they end up going like this. It's no longer a ramp. See, it's more like a speed bump. So the modification would be place your front arm on your front thigh. That way you have a nice long line. Now, if you're like, okay, but I can go further than just having my arm on my thigh, the magic block comes in handy here. So using the block, you can press into the floor. Now you can still press your front arm and your front leg into each other and reach up and away, and you don't lose the alignment of the side body. See? Props are magical. So, next. I have cued this in a few of my classes just because people have asked. It is the tripod headstand. It is the headstand that I was taught first. If you talk to other yogis, they either learn supported headstand or tripod headstand first, and that's usually the headstand they're better at. So, prep for this. I'm actually not going to show you the headstand because this is a modification class. So, prep for this. You make a triangle, head, arms, triangle. A lot of people end up doing a really small, short triangle. You want a nice, big triangle. And all you're going to do is place your hands on the mat, place the crown of your head on the floor, and just straighten your legs. Get used to this feeling, and that's your prep for it. Honestly, that's it. Finding the crown of your head, heel of the palm at the eyebrows, you just roll your head up, and you'll find your crown. Now, if you want another prep for it, once you have your triangle, just bring one knee to one elbow. Work on doing that, and that's how you get that. So another intermediate pose that a lot of people teach, it's the yoga squat. So I know in normal squats, we're just ass to the grass, ass to the grass. In yoga, you want to widen your stance because in our yoga squat, our heels don't lift off the floor. So if your heels are lifting off the floor when you're doing a yoga squat, you have two options. If my heels are off the floor, I'll just raise my booty. Raising your booty, you'll see that the heels go down and you're still getting the work, and eventually you'll work toward lowering your butt. Now, if you're like, but I really want to lower my butt, your magic prop, water bottle, book, place it right under your bum and just sit on it. Find the stance, make sure your heels are on the floor. Find your squat. Now a nice feeling here, pressing into your knees with your elbows to really feel that inner thigh. Feel your hip flexors. And then from here, see if you can lift your booty off of the block, and then see if you can take your elbows away, and see if you can keep that shape in your knees. So those are just some common yoga modifications depending on what class you're taking. So Even though I teach yoga, I love having a block. I love props. So, depending on how you're feeling in class, meet yourself on the mat, find where you are when you start practice, not what you think you should be doing. And if you need any help, always ask a teacher in your class. Okay guys, so this is Frances. I hope this was informative in some way for you guys. Have a great day.